I have a question. Who among you needs big speakers? Who? I want to know. Stand up. Stand up for big speakers. No, seriously, who needs big speakers? And I will answer my own question. Anybody who has these qualifications, so to speak, right? Well, forget the qualifications. If you want big speakers, you should go ahead and get big speakers. But in terms of the rationale to buy big speakers, first, I think you'd need a fairly large room. Let's just say not a small room. You would like to play music loud at sometimes, maybe party, right? You want to crank it without hesitation, without worrying about playing it too loud. If you want to really crank it, pedal to the metal, party, play music at realistically loud levels, sometimes, maybe once a year even, you need big speakers. If you crave really big, hard-hitting dynamics, you need big speakers. And then there's the obvious, bass. If you like bass, room-filling, big, fat, deep, succulent bass, you need big speakers. You're not going to get any of those things, and you can afford big speakers. You're not going to get any of those things from a skinny tower speaker with a 6-inch woofer or something, or a stand mount with a 6-inch or even 8-inch woofer. No, you're not going to get it. It can sound really good. I'm not saying small speakers aren't good. I love small speakers. But I laid out this rationale for big speakers. Room size, love of bass, play music loud, and dynamics. Hard-hitting, wham, bam, feel it in your gut dynamics. That takes size. That takes scale. Now I'm lucky enough to be living with a pair of Klipsch Cornwall 4 horn speakers. They have 15-inch woofers. They're big. They're not gigantic, actually, but they're substantial. They weigh 100 pounds each. They're fun. They're very dynamic. The bass is just so satisfying. It's not just that it goes deep. There's just a fullness to it that's more like what bass sounds like in real life. And no stand mount speaker I've had in this room in the past 31 years has ever come close to what these speakers do. Just doesn't happen. But it's not just the Klipsches. I mean, not that long ago I had Magnepan 3.6s and then later 3.7s, and they're about 6 feet tall. Big woofer panel, 48-inch tall full ribbon tweeter. They're big and they sound big, and their sound stage is much closer to life size than any stand mount speaker I've ever had in this room. Nope. No. And the thing is, I got to tell you, when I was living with those speakers and I was about to review a small speaker, I couldn't go directly from the Magnepans to a small speaker, even if it was a really expensive small speaker. If it was a speaker that cost more than the Magnepans, which were about $6,000. It wasn't a price thing, it was a size thing. So when I was living with the Magnepans and I was going to review a small speaker, I'd have to spend a few days listening to one of my reference small speakers to make that adjustment to listening to small a little smoother. Because otherwise, if I just went from the Magnepan to the speaker under review that was small, I would say it just sounds really small. So that wouldn't be fair. So yes, size matters. Those Magnepans were just so transparent and pure and effortless. Not as dynamic as the Klipsches, but just satisfyingly large. And then at the end of, I guess, 2019, I think, I had a set of Pure Audio Project open baffle speakers here. And again, they're big, and they sounded big. And that openness of having an open baffle combined with a large scale was so much fun, so effortless. I have to figure out a way of living with some large open baffle speakers. But I'm just saying, again, no small speakers can compete with what the Klipsches do, what the Magnepan did, what the Pure Audio Project did. I'm sure I'm leaving out some other very large speakers that came through this room, but yeah. Who needs big speakers? Well, you play loud, you have a very large room, and this is a very large room. Not tiny, not gigantic, but larger than average. Let's say the average room size, we should define what large is. The average room, certainly in an apartment, is, let's say, 12 by 18. That's average. That's not tiny, but it's not big. But if you have a room that's in one dimension 20 feet, and then another dimension more than 20 feet, let's say 25 feet or 28 feet or something, that's big. And if you're lucky enough to have a room of that size, well, you should get big speakers. You need big speakers. Now, I just want to reiterate that I'm not. This video isn't a rant about putting down small speakers. I love small speakers. I love the Klipsch RP600M. It's just, let's say, a medium-sized bookshelf speaker. I like Harbets. I like all Harbets, which are all bookshelf stand-mount speakers, even the really big ones. But the smallest Harbet, the P3 ESR, well, the 40th anniversary that I reviewed not that long ago, that is a great speaker. It's my favorite Harbet, and it's the smallest one. It just has this tone, this mid-range, this open quality, this musicality that just is incredible. So I love it. And by the way, and of course, then there's the KEF LS50 Meta. It's a small stand-mount speaker with a 5 1/4 inch woofer. Actually makes a surprising amount of bass, but not like a big speaker. But it's satisfying. I'm not saying you can't have a small speaker with reasonably satisfying deep bass, but it's nothing. It's not in the same galaxy as what the bass you'll get from a really large speaker. It's just not. So yeah, I like small speakers. Now, of course, I have a feel. I'm guessing right now, some of you are yelling at your screen saying, Steve, well, you could always add a subwoofer and get the bass. True, you could. And back in my home theater magazine reviewing days, I reviewed a lot of subwoofers. And I reviewed a fair amount for CNET over the years. So it's not that I'm inexperienced. I am experienced, as Jimi Hendrix would say. Are you experienced? Yes, I am experienced with subwoofers. And I have some coming up soon. But, well, no, subwoofer bass can do the deep bass really well, depending on how you set it up. It can blend reasonably well with the stand-mount speaker or even a tower speaker. But it's not going to have the same fullness that a large speaker can give you. So it's certainly a sort of a workaround for anybody that has to use small speakers, and using a sub well set up, well blended with the satellite speaker. Yes, it definitely can add a lot of bass, but it's not the same as the bass you'd get from a really large speaker. It's just not. Now, of course, one additional thing about subwoofers is, well, they come in all sizes, right? If you have a large subwoofer with 12-inch or 15-inch or multiple large drivers, not subwoofers with, two 8-inch woofers, but I mean a really large sub with multiple 12-inch drivers or 15-inch or 18-inch, or as I discussed the other day with Nelson Pass, a 21-inch woofer. Well, yes, and we're getting back to really big speakers. And yes, a very large subwoofer can get you with a small speaker well set up and well integrated a lot of the way there towards the big speaker sound. Because then you're kind of cheating in a way because you're using a really big subwoofer. So yes, a very large subwoofer can get you there. But little subwoofers, and there's lots of really good ones, can do amazing things. But don't for a second think that they do what a large sub can do. It's, again, not really comparable or comparable. Anyway, where do I stand? I love big speakers. That may be where I go in the end, is big speakers. Oh, and by the way, about a year ago, I had the pleasure of hearing some really big Klipsch's, the Klipsch horns, in a big room, not gigantic, but big enough. And that system just knocked me out, because they did scale and dynamics, and not just big dynamics, but small scale textural dynamics with incredible realism and power. Not the power you had to play it really loud to feel it. You could play it even at fairly quiet levels and still feel it. That's an amazing speaker. But it's very big. Now, of course, I've heard big Wilsons and big Magicos, and yes, I've heard lots of really big speakers. Oh yeah, and of course, I spent some time with JM Labs or Vocals, very large Grand Utopias of various vintages. Yeah, they count as big, and they sound freaking great. Matter of fact, at Sound by Singer in New York on 16th Street, for years we had a pair of Grand Utopias set up in the back room. And that room must have been, yeah, I would say 20 by 35 feet, I'm guessing, but pretty big. And yeah, you'd play something large scale like a symphony or a rock band and just crank the hell out of them. Yes. For you people that don't believe in the law of diminishing returns, which is something that always fascinates me, I'm always thinking, you never heard a really well set up, not just expensive, but a really well set up expensive system. When you hear a $100,000 large system in a large room, no, a $10,000 system ain't even close. It's just not close. Again, sorry to repeat myself, size matters. It just does. And by the way, I should point out that even with some of those big Wilson speakers, adding the Wilson subwoofer, which was gigantic, definitely helped them out. So big speakers, yeah, big speakers can do a lot, move a lot of air. But sometimes even they can't replicate what a really large subwoofer can do. So if you got them, smoke them. That's my recommendation. As always, I'd love to hear what you guys think. So tell me about your experiences of, well, living with large speakers if you have, or lusting after large speakers if you haven't yet, or if you're perfectly satisfied with small speakers. I mean, I could be too. I like small speakers. I've mostly lived with small speakers. I want to hear all those, and I want to hear all of that and more in the comments. I'll pop in, at least on the first day or so. I'll try to be more present. So, now it's time for me to say, my name is Steve Guttenberg, and this is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. If you like what I do, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. And when you do, remember to hit that little notification bell so you'll be notified every time there's an incredible new episode. And there will be an incredible new episode, basically 4 days a week, every other day. You could also check out my Patreon at patreon.com/audiophiliac. I will link to that below. We got playlists. Check out my Instagram, because I just started doing IGTV, which is longer videos for Instagram. And I do them basically in one take, me just talking directly to the phone. There's no edits, there's no inserts, there's no pictures or anything for the most part. Sometimes I use an edited version of a regular YouTube video on Instagram, but mostly it's just me ranting about something, or just maybe piquing your interest in some form. That's my goal. So anyway, check that out. It's steve.guttenberg. That's how you find me on Instagram. That is linked to below. You can also follow me on Twitter at audiophiliac, linked below. But we got playlists here. We got playlists for speaker reviews and headphone reviews and component reviews, and of course music reviews. Plus, wait, there's more. Interviews, and interviews with, well, so many people. I get tired of saying the same names over and over again. But lots of cool people. People you've never heard of can be incredibly fascinating. And I will link to some of those right there. Well, I'll link to one right there, and maybe a second or two go by, and I'll link to another one up there. But anyway, not just the famous people, the infamous people who've appeared on the Audiophiliac Daily Show. Oh, like my friend Brent Butterworth. He is the audiophobiac. We had such a good time making those videos. We made two. And that kind of puts it all together for today. My work here is at last complete. So thank you, as always, for watching. And I really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.